people to understand what being badass truly means, because it has nothing to do with ego and it has everything to do with mindset. It's a mindset that makes you feel empowered and confident and true to yourself and believing that you can achieve your dreams and accomplish anything you work for.
I'm Stephanie Keith.
And I am Tara Manjakovic, and we are Unapologetically Outspoken.
Hey everyone, happy Motivation Manifestation Monday. So, Tara, I have been wanting to talk about this for a while because you have this really cool project going on social media where every week you've been showing up and doing these short inspirational videos. And I'm very impressed, by the way. Like, these are very well put together videos. So good job to you, because I know that was a little bit hard, like putting yourself out there.
It still is.
It's still, of course, video is like always, I feel like, just weird, but you're really good at it. Like, you're a natural at it, of course, just like everything else you do. And you've basically been taking everyone through your personal growth journey and just learning a lot of cool stuff along the way. So, like, I feel like every time you post something, I'm like, oh, yeah, like, yeah. And it's like, it's very motivating. And there was one video I watched last week. It was one of your earlier ones, and it was on the concept of badassery. I was like, ooh, badassery. What the hell's that? That sounds pretty cool. And it's basically where you do something that makes you feel good about yourself to give you that little boost of confidence when things aren't going so great. Because, I mean, we all have those days, right? I know I had plenty of those days during our whole 75 hard journey and getting sick and all that kind of stuff. And I really loved the video because, first of all, like, I've always looked at you as such a badass. And that's really motivated me to add some badassery in my life. We should count how many times I say badassery because I love that word so much. I'm like going to use it left and right. But I feel like I did really add that into my life with this podcast. And it has literally changed my life. Like, it's given me so much more confidence in being more outspoken and just talking about a lot of things that I've always wanted to say, but I've been too afraid to say my entire life. So, like, growing up, I was the shy, nice, quiet girl that, like, no one ever really knew was there. I'm just like off in the corner doing what I'm told, and very self-conscious, major people pleaser. And when I hit middle school, that's when, like, I kind of got sick of that. I kind of got sick of being like the shy, awkward, invisible girl. So at that point, I like fully embraced my badassery and like went from being super shy to thinking that I'm like too cool for school kind of thing. But it did really help me. Like, it helped me come out of my shell. It helped me build confidence and learn how to actually talk to people and stand up for myself and ask questions in class and all the things I was always afraid of doing. Then, like, late high school, early college, I got in this like really just not a great relationship and was in it throughout college. And I like totally reverted back to that shy, quiet, like socially awkward girl. And I graduated college. I like broke up with that guy. And I just decided I'm going to move 6 hours away where no one knows me. I'm going to completely reinvent myself. And I remember actually thinking, like, wow, I can be whoever I want to be because no one knows me here. I can start over. I can give myself an identity upgrade. And so that's exactly what I did. And I will never forget that first summer living there. It was like the best summer of my life. And like, I'll never forget it because it just felt so free to like just be whoever I wanted to be. Like, just have this. It was kind of like a confidence upgrade, an identity upgrade. Like, I don't really know how to describe it, but I think badassery was definitely thrown into the mix. So fast forward to now, and I was kind of in this situation where I was walking on eggshells, afraid of pissing off the woke mob within my business and everything I was doing on social media. And it was so frustrating because all I wanted to do was speak up about all of the crazy shit going on in the world. And then you came along and like, I'm like, oh, wow, here's this like badass chick that's just going to like put it out there and say whatever's on her mind. And it made me feel like it's almost like it gave me permission to step up into that version of myself that like doesn't give a damn if I piss people off. And so, like, this, what we're doing here, this podcast has been my most recent way of embracing my badassery. And I've never felt more free and more confident in who I am. So, Tara, since you are the queen of badassery, you need to teach us how we can embrace this. And one thing I've always wondered is like how you stepped into this new identity, going from being like a worker in an office at Disney to being a firefighter and then going to the police academy and then like again moving across the country and doing something completely else. Like that had to have been super intimidating and taken a lot of courage. So how did you like muster up the confidence to do this? And was there something in particular that you were like telling yourself in order to take that action?
Well, Stephanie, first of all, thank you. That was quite an image to live up to. Like, I don't see myself that way, but I am seriously honored that you see me as a badass. And truthfully, I can guarantee you that I was probably more shy than you were growing up. And I wrote about this, I think, in one of my first blog articles, but I had no self-esteem. I was quiet. I was nerdy and dorky. There's a difference, but I was both. I had
But you
no
dated Paul Walker. Like, come on.
I know, that's so weird. But I had like zero athletic ability. I was a total indoor girl. I never wanted to go outside except maybe like 5 minutes to roller skate around the block, and then I was done. And I went to a school that was 45 minutes away from where I lived. So I didn't hang out with my classmates after school or on the weekends. You know, I would take the bus after school to the library and wait for my mom to pick me up. And we lived in an apartment where there were like no kids my age. And there was one girl in my apartment building, and she was 5 years younger than me. And when you're 12, you don't want to play with a 7-year-old. So I mostly just spent time by myself, and I made out stories, and I like hand sewed clothes for my dog. And again, total nerd, awkward social skills. And I had like the giant Coke bottle glasses, like everything. And I was also overweight. And you and I have talked about this on a past podcast, but I was on diet since I was 8 years old, and being completely unathletic and an emotional eater, it did like nothing to help my self-esteem. And it really wasn't until I was about, I think, 23 years old that I even contemplated imagining the idea of wanting to be badass. And like you said, I was at Disney. I was working in an office with two very obese women. And even though I was about 20 pounds overweight, these women were both like well over 100 plus. So I didn't realize how overweight and unhealthy I was until I went down to like the stills department one day, and someone took like a Polaroid of me and a coworker. And when I saw the picture, and even though I'd seen myself in the mirror, it didn't hit me. When I saw that picture, it was like a lightning bolt. And I like took the picture home, and I remember like I broke out in tears, and there was something that kind of switched in my brain, and I decided I wanted to change. And so I started doing at-home workouts. And Stephanie, I don't know if you ever did these or if you remember these, but like the Billy Blanks Tae-Bo workouts and the beach body, did you ever do those?
Oh, I was total beach body. Like
Yeah.
I still love beach body to this
Yes.
day.
Yeah. So I was doing those, and I got a treadmill and I started running. And like, I want to put into perspective that my zero athletic ability was literally zero. Like, I was the girl who came in dead last when we had these like student relay races at school. And, you know, it was a small school. So I was on every sports team for some ludicrous reason. But I was like a bench warmer. I never played. I had no coordination. It was literally like a movie. They would put me in a game when we were so far ahead in points that there was no way that I could fuck it up. And that girl, like the one they make fun of in the movies, for being dorky and uncoordinated. And I truly believed that I was never going to excel in anything that required athletic ability. And I assumed that I would always work an indoor job in an office doing the things I was good at, like writing and being organized. And so when I started to work out and gain some strength and shed some weight with all my at-home workouts, and like, wow, I could jog a mile on the treadmill, like I started to feel good about myself, and I started to gain self-esteem because I slowly started realizing that, wait, I actually could be good at some of the things that I have convinced myself my whole life that I would never be good at. And like we all know, exercise is important for physical health, but I think a lot of people don't realize how significant exercise and physical activity is for creating a badass mindset. And as I started to crave challenging myself and doing things that I believed I wasn't naturally good at, this mindset developed within me. And so several months later, when I found out Disney had a volunteer fire department, I had developed enough belief in myself that I thought, okay, maybe I could do this. And look, I'll be honest, even though I had taken leaps and bounds with my tie bow tapes and jogging on the treadmill, I was nowhere near the shape required to become a firefighter. But I at least thought it was a possibility. Whereas before, it would have been like, oh, I could never do that. And so I volunteered for about a year before deciding I wanted to take the next step and become like a state certified firefighter and not just a volunteer at Disney. And Stephanie, putting myself through the fire academy was literally one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. I truly was not prepared for it physically, and I struggled the entire time. And I was at the top of my class academically, but I consistently failed the timed physical agility test. And I wanted to quit multiple times, but there was something inside me that wouldn't let me quit because I had tasted that badassness, right? And I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And then when graduation rolled around, like I said, I was at the top of my class. I was elected class president. I had to give our graduation speech. And like 2 days before graduation, I failed my last attempt at the agility test. So do you think I felt badass? Like, definitely not. I was mortified. I felt like a total fucking loser. But I stood on that stage and I gave the speech. I watched my classmates receive their certifications, even though I didn't receive mine. And it was devastating because I had worked my ass off and I had still failed. But I was determined to pass. And I think I had like a year to pass that physical test and then still qualify for my certification. So I spent the next several months like driving an hour and a half away 2 nights a week to this place where I could go and practice and do it over and over and over until I was at a point where I could comfortably pass the test within the time limit. And then when I finally got certified, I still didn't feel badass because even though I technically made it through and I completed everything, I hadn't graduated with my class and I still felt like less than. And I worked in the fire service for maybe 10 years before deciding to transition to law enforcement. And during that time, I honed my skills and I gained a lot of confidence. And I even later came back to be an instructor in that same fire academy that I had failed. And that failure was like always there with me like a dead weight. But it was also the thing that propelled me forward into becoming badass because I told myself I never want to experience that again. So when I decided to transition to law enforcement, I was way more prepared for the police academy, not just physically, but mentally. And I excelled in the academy. Was I great at everything? No. But I had developed resiliency and confidence and a never quit on your dreams attitude. And I went into my law enforcement career with a badass mindset because of the experiences that I had in the fire academy and the struggles I had as a firefighter. And I continued with that mindset of badassery through the next 15 years as a cop, never allowing myself to quit on myself and always pushing myself to succeed and grow and learn and take on challenges with that mindset of a winner. And I explain this very long-winded story because I want people to understand what being badass truly means, because it has nothing to do with ego and it has everything to do with mindset. It's a mindset that makes you feel empowered and confident and true to yourself and believing that you can achieve your dreams and accomplish anything you work for. It's about like summoning that courage within yourself to take action on the things that are important to you. And I just want to quote from an article I recently came across. It's a creative freelance business coach named Julie Cortez. And she describes it perfectly. Like everything I wanted to say, she had already written down. So I'm going to read this from an article that she wrote. It was back in 2020 on LinkedIn. And she says, what is badassery? It's a mindset, attitude, and sheer authenticity. It's speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. It's overcoming adversity, accepting no other option. It's showing up, doing the work, and fulfilling promises made. It's sticking to your own purpose, dreams, and path that you created. It's removing anything or anyone from your life that threatens your peace. It's setting boundaries and enforcing them when people cross them. It's living by your own code, not worrying what others think. It is determination, perseverance, and resilience. It is strength, confidence, and earned respect. And so even though I'm in this like totally different chapter of my life where I'm no longer a cop or a firefighter or working in any physically challenging career field, honestly, I feel like what you and I are doing here, Stephanie, is totally fucking badass. We are speaking our truth despite the haters and the criticism. We're standing up for what we believe is right, and we're trying to inspire others to do the same. And I've said this before, but if you hadn't come into my life, I wouldn't be doing this. Sure, I was writing the blog and I was speaking my truth in that blog. But as much badass shit as I've done in my life, I was very intimidated to put myself out there, on social media and videos. But you gave me the courage to get on this platform and start doing this together. And that was despite your own fears and hesitations about how this would affect your business. You wanted to do it anyway. And like that is fucking badass.
And I have zero regrets doing
Yeah.
it. Like it's so aligned, and we definitely were meant to do this together. Like I've never questioned it once we got started. I think the hardest part was just getting started and putting it out there. But I feel like everyone listening that has kids should have them listen to this episode, because you talking about going from this like nerdy, dorky kid to going to the fire academy, but then not getting certified right away, but then you kept going. I think that's so inspiring. And I think it's so important because I don't know, I just feel like it's not talked about enough. And in like a generation where everyone gets a medal, even if they lose or they don't win. Like, I think that there's something to be said for overcoming these hurdles and these little failures and going anyway, like continuing on. And like, that's badass. Like, that is what every kid should hear and know, that even if you lose and you like completely fail, that doesn't mean it's over. You can keep going. And you have to find that within yourself. No one else is going to pick you up and tell you to keep going. Like, you have to do that yourself. And I think you're the perfect example of that. And, I think with this podcast, we're speaking our truth. We're showing up authentically, knowing it's going to offend and piss some people off, but doing it anyways. And when you're aligned with your values, again, like that's badass. Like that, it feels good. Like you feel confident in who you truly are instead of putting this mask on for the world. So I hope that inspires everyone else to just do whatever feels right for them. And, whether that's speaking out or trying a new challenge that maybe you've been putting off, or trying something again that you failed at, you can do it. And once you do it, you're going to feel so confident and so proud of yourself. And it's really all about just embracing that badassery that's in all of us. So I hope that everyone has an amazing week, and we'll see you back here for another episode of Weird Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you get our latest episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you could, please rate and review the show. We are going to be reading every single review, and I would love it if you hopped over to Instagram at Unapologetically Outspoken and say hi. We want to see who's out there and start a conversation, plus get all of the topics that you want us to talk about next. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.